All right, we are live. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry about that.
Here we go. Let me get my screen refreshed on YouTube. Make sure that it's all over there. Yes, lovely. Hello, everybody. Yes, we're just getting the tech together here with some slides to present to show off the winners and everything. But thanks for joining us today for the finale, where we will be revealing the judges' picks for all of the submissions. So I'm not sure if there's any huge kind of preface we need to get into, Catherine, but while you get the slides together there, I thought I'd ask everybody who's in chat, how did it go? How did you feel in the end? Was it a big struggle? How did your story change? Just kind of tell us about the experience. Don't be shy. A wee bit annoying. Just a wee bit. I strive to be very annoying. Well, as Cassie says, not annoying, challenging. But I know we find we're human beings. We find challenges annoying, but it was great to see, and we'll see. With as Catherine said previously in the challenge, like we're not going to go through today and read out like the entirety of everybody's stories or give too much away because we want you to. This could theoretically, by some publishers, be treated as it being published if we read it aloud. So we'll give a few hints and just talk a little bit about the choices. But it was very heartening to see what people did with the restrictions. It always is on a challenge like this because things have to change so much, and of course you're kind of you feel stuck in a box with these kind of challenges because clearly we're giving you stipulations, but yet, and this is the creative side of it, people still manage to surprise you, make you laugh. Find very interesting, funny and out there ways to get around to what was going on in the story, based on the rules. So watching that sort of creative dance happen is amazing, and I think if you managed to land that, even even if there were a couple of missteps or whatever, you managed to stay in that dance, then give yourself a pat on the back, regardless. I think to everybody that took part. Like she mentioned there, definitely do it next time, Irene. Yeah, it's always changing up, so there's a little bit of a it gets brutal in different ways, but the overall rules remain the same. I think the first time you do this challenge and you're just kind of getting ready for the rules, it makes it easier for the next time because you'll know that this is the format for Destination Unknown. You get a first line, you get a couple of rules that you got to follow, and you get a last line, so you kind of know what's coming in theory. But the reality is what throws you for a bit of a loop. So I hope it's been fun for everyone. And I can see a little slide pop up there. Catherine, are you ready?
Yeah. Speaking, people always ask us all these questions, and we got a lot of submissions. We were down to the wire debating which ones were going to make it. So we are actually starting off with some honorable mentions, and then we'll have our third, second, and first place. But these are the honorable mentions that were part of the shortlist alongside our first, second, and third place winners. So we have Karma by Dana L. It's the Quiet Ones You Have to Watch by Tanya G. and Crucible Growth by Aether Q. Now, of course, pro members, we will open up a forum chat where you can drop your full stories if you would like to share them with others. But Gareth, do you sort of want to go over what stood out to you about these as opposed to all the others that we got outside of, not including words in the to be list? Or
Yeah, it's kind of I know the early, what we call slush cuts, the very early cuts from submissions. I would say, what was it, Catherine? Probably the most common reason that it was kind of instant cut was just not using the first line verbatim, like the first rule of the
yeah,
challenge. So that was a quick cut. And then was it not using the last line?
it was
Was again
not
really
using
quick
to
cut.
be's was probably second
Ah,
most, especially the words is and was. Those came up a lot. And then the last line. And then there were a few of you who tried to utilize an AI to basically write you a story with the guidelines. So those did not make the cut either. If you are going to utilize some sort of automated assistance in your stories moving forward, do at least check that you've removed your prompts and try to humanize it, to a degree, and make sure that the challenge you're submitting to is open to that. This, of course, is just a for fun challenge. It's a writing challenge, so the goal is to push yourself to create, to learn to trust your words in a safe space. But yeah, those are the most common reasons, and the biggest one of all was either changing verbiage in that first line, not having it as the first line, writing something else first, and then following it with the required first line, um, or like I said, adding to it on the back end as well,
Mhm.
where it's part of the first line, but it is not the first line in its entirety.
Yeah, there's little things like that. Part of this too is, as you know, as Catherine said, the challenge is for fun. So fun writing exercise, regardless of kind of what happens in the end, whether you submit or not. You know, there's plenty of people who take part in the challenge don't submit because they've done what they wanted to do. They've done what they came to do anyway, just by taking part in writing. But I think part of why we do this in the end too is also to give, especially if you're kind of early on in your career, there's 2 points I want to make here. The first one is paying attention to detail. You know, but it happens even in real world scenarios when you're submitting a story to a magazine or to an upcoming anthology or whatever you're trying to get the story placed, is that publishers have guidelines, and one of the first things you should do is get your magnifying glasses on, get a microscope, look at those guidelines and make sure you're following them to the letter, because any kind of shift away from them makes it real easy when acquiring editors are snowed under by hundreds or maybe even thousands of submissions to cut yours because you didn't follow the rules. It's not necessarily the rules of the story, but anything they say in the guidelines. It could even be formatting or include this or don't include that. One slip can have you cut off, rejected for that submission. And that's just what we try to kind of push here as well, is get you into that mindset, get you into that experience, even though it is just a fun experience. Because at the end of the day, it sucks a little bit when your story's like really, really good, but you just get cut for that one little thing that you overlooked. I've been there, felt that pain, and yeah, it sucks. Um, Same thing on the AI front. If you like you're I don't recommend it at all, just using AI to write your stories, like Catherine said, but leaving prompts in there is guaranteed to basically just get you blacklisted, from anywhere you're submitting to, unless they're specifically looking for AI stories of that kind. So don't do that. But the second point that I wanted to move on to as well is that decision making. It's one thing that I want to impress on everybody here today and everybody who took part and submitted to the challenge. Um, Editors, when we're judges and acquiring editors making decisions on stories to publish, they're so often just stuck between, there's another rock over there, and a hard place on the other side. Just trying to decide on what stories actually make it through, that make the cut. And sometimes rejections come down to like the tiniest reasons, just like it just doesn't feel like anymore it would fit among the other choices, or sometimes how they feel on the day that they read it. It's really tough. It is tough. And for us, even judging these stories, like, you guys made it tough for us because there's some really really good ones, and it's really hard to put them into an order. So regardless, if you finish the story, submitted it, pat yourself on the back, give a round of applause for absolutely everybody who took part, because you really deserve it. And the honorable
Mhm.
mentions here as well. Karma by Dana was very very fun, imaginative. I think is the thing with all three of these, is that just really imaginative in the storytelling, and again, hard choices, because we've got a top three. We've got three podium winners, so to speak, coming up here: gold, silver, and bronze. And we just had to call out a few. These other three for just slipping below kind of in judging the other ones. But they were all really, really great stories. And I think if, and again, super fun and creative in how they each approach. I don't want to give too much away, but Karma's is, sorry, I keep saying Karma's because Karma is also a name. Dana's Karma has like a really fun setup with a like video game instruction. The whole "I'll read the instructions" thing is like a video game instruction manual, and then it goes into almost like a lit RPG, kind of inside the game scenario. It's like balancing that player playing the game, but also being in it, kind of sort of way. It was very very fun, really interesting. Tanya's "It's the Quiet Ones You Have to Watch" takes a kind of, I guess, for the modern day, very socially prescient sci-fi take on why the rain would be purple and what that does to people. Again, I'm not going to spoil the whole story, but it was involving all the way through, and it it kind of nicely builds to the reveal was a good one. You know, so you start with this mystery. That
Mm.
opening line almost always forces a mystery on you, and it's kind of coming from a perspective that feels a little hidden, a little shy before it's able to open itself up, which is very in line with what the story is actually about. So as that becomes more clear, you're kind of following along with it, which was very, very nice. And I have to say, Crucible Growth by Aether here is probably one of the most strikingly creative takes that I saw for the whole thing, because it's a very meta take on actually referencing the challenge. It's like, I'm trying to do this, and oh no, there's these restrictions, and kind of what do I do? While also bringing that into its own sort of imaginative scenario of everybody else participating in this activity. It was really fun, and that take on it actually reminded me, one that stuck personally with a what a friend of mine is. One friend I have, Colin, and what he says about writer's block. He says, when I get writer's block, or he's like, he says, I don't get writer's block because when I do, I sit down and I write about how horrible it is to have writer's block, and then I write about what I would prefer to be writing if I didn't have writer's block. And then I don't have writer's block anymore. He's like, because I've just kind of talked myself out of it by writing it down, which was very, very fun. And this felt like a kind of an exercise for the writer to try to do that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on them. Very well done. Honorable mentions.
Yeah, and I would say something that made the stories that did end up here on the short list, these six today, stand out from the others is we've said many times during the challenge check-ins that we wanted to be immersed in the world of the story. We did not want to feel like we were being told a story. That's why the twists shifted into active voice and shown descriptions instead of summarized tells. And that's something all six really did, either on a haunting level, whimsical level, is fun, immersive, right there alongside someone struggling through, a challenge. All of these stories encapsulated what's going on as though we were there with these characters, and that really made them stand out, and it flowed so well because of it. So just a extra little bonus kudos to all of you. And we will be giving all of the honorable mentions our showing versus telling workshop that we have coming up. It will be added to your account automatically as just a congratulations for making it to the short list. All right, so on to third place. While I'm grabbing this, do you want to talk about what the third place winner is going to get, Gareth?
I believe the third place is the showing versus telling workshop as well. I
Yeah,
think it was
showing
that.
versus telling workshop. Um, and we've got another course that we're going to slip to you as well here. Make sure I get my places right. So here we go. Hopefully it's showing on my screen.
Oh, I do not see any. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Just took it a second. The tech is slow.
Yeah, see what we deal with tech.
Yep. Yep. Disruption by Elizabeth S. is our third place winner. By the way, we love that there were so many different genres represented today, too. It's been fantastic.
Yes, it was hard. There was something of I expected to see a lot more sci-fi, and there's something else that I expected to see a lot more of that we'll talk about with number two that we didn't see a whole lot of. So it was good fun, yeah, just seeing all of the differences. But Disruption, um, this I think was one of few that made it through to the final judging round that made direct reference to Prince's Purple Rain in the opening. So I expected to see like just tons and tons and tons of that direct reference making it through. So it was this one I was thinking about. I'm just looking at my notes here for each story, and it goes from that where you kind of start with something that I thought was okay, that's expected, and again I expected to see a lot more. And I've also got Purple Rain playing in my head upon reading that, so it's like okay, but then directly using that reference as a hook to bring you into a story of a failed relationship, which also has a sci-fi twist kind of attached to it, which is like, why is the rain purple? But lots of nice little hooks threaded throughout the story too. They kept me on point, and it's unusual characters because one of them is like again, I don't want to spoil everything, but like there's a character who is a now successful pop star, and kind of their ex dealing with them and still kind of holding trying to hold that connection together. But it also then brings itself around to, I thought it was a very nice use of the final line on a very strong character beat. So very, very good stuff, Elizabeth.
Yes. Well done. Well done. All right. Second place. Hopefully the tech will load it just a little faster for us this time. Crossing my fingers here. All right. Can we see it yet?
There's always just the little YouTube delay, but it should be up in a sec. There we go. Second place. So second place will be a free story doctor consultation session, and all of these things quietly we just add them to your account inside of AutoCrit. So the winner here is Marina with Violet Rain Interrupted, number 2. This is a story that kind of in my first note that I had written about this was just compellingly wacky. Which is something I thought that extends or grows throughout the story as it goes. It's got this very kind of half stoic, half sardonic voice to it that it really manages to keep your attention, and that's spread across both the prose and the dialogues. The dialogue, but you can expect it in the prose with a character who has that kind of sense about them, but it extends into another character. These two people meeting, I say quote unquote, like people, they're not people, kind of meeting, and they both have this like really perfunctory, odd way of talking to one another and getting around, I guess, the rules of the challenge. But it's the kind of dialogue that normally you would find, or you could find, very off-putting if it weren't utilized so well here as part of that voice, which is why I said compellingly wacky. I got a good number of laughs out of it because of the back and forth between these characters and what they talk about. And again, just builds to a nice finish, and it kind of gives reasons for the purple rain and everything. So yeah, good stuff.
And it was nice because we got so many that were mixing like the darkness and what sort of foreboding things this could possibly be through most of the stories, to have one that was a little lighter in humor. It was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I guess it is one thing to see or feel in a lot of entries in that vein. But when you start with something odd like Purple Rain, it's like I've got to make it terrible. It's got to be awful ramifications for this, or a mistake has been made, etc. This one does have a mistake. The reason for it is a mistake, but it's not like the world is ending. There's a
Yeah.
nice sense of humor.
Yeah. In first place, a huge congratulations to Jay Prast, whose story One in 150,000 is the one that just blew all of the others away.
Yeah, so first place prize on this one, Jay, we are going to give you a free ticket to the Publishing Intensive Masterclass. That's actually ongoing now with Becca. And this is a 7-week, I believe, full deep dive into kind of everything you need to know, every angle of running your own publishing business, publishing for yourself, being an independent publisher. So we thought that would just be a great one that's underway, because if you are working on a lot of stuff right now and you're looking to take that next step, you're going to be prepared for it. So congratulations. And this story, again, very, very tight, very close on all of these picks, even the top 6. But this one was again, plot wise, don't give it all away, Gareth. But like, our main character gets a cybernetic kind of eye implant, like both eyes, which results in them seeing things they would rather not see, which again goes along with the opening line. Nobody told me the rain would be purple. It kind of looks that way because my eyes are kind of acting up mechanically. But what they see, it kind of ultimately lands them in court, and there's a little tinge of horror, a little bit of sci-fi, but also a very light tone that comes around in the end. So it's not ultimately a really, really dark story. Just leading to that, I'll read the manual kind of thing at the end too, signs it off. So again, without giving too much away, one in I keep trying to say 15,000, 1 in 150,000 was a very, very good story. So yeah, great company to keep here. But Jay Prast takes the gold position.
And I just wanted to reiterate that it's hard to judge these challenges. And like I said, we were deliberating all the way up to right before we went live, finalizing who had written what because these were blind judgings. Um, just making sure that we had the absolute best of all these amazing stories. So if you submitted and you didn't see yourself in the 6-person shortlist, you didn't see yourself in the top 3, please don't be discouraged. Please do not give up on writing. AutoCrit's goal is to give you fun challenges to push your comfort zone, but some of those challenges will work better for some people than they do for others. And at the end of the day, if you grew in some way, in this case, maybe you mastered a little more showing versus telling, or a little more active voice, or thought about ways to describe people without using their names, and now that's going to be something you can incorporate into other works, then you've still won. We're still proud of you. And we would love to see you at our other challenges, like the upcoming Novel 90 Challenge, which is completely different. The Summer Novel 90 Challenge is a free 90-day challenge that's meant to help guide you through planning, writing, and editing a full-length 50,000 word or more novel in 90 days with coaches' help. So we're proud of you for being here, for showing up, for stretching yourself, for giving us good stories that made it hard to pick the shortlist and winners. And we hope you'll come back to more in the future.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see Cassie mentioning there going to turn mine into a novel. Well, novel 90's coming up. You might as well jump in if that's on your radar. Jump in there and get involved in that. So, as Catherine said, novel 90 is not as aggressive as this challenge. It's not as restrictive at all. It's just about guiding you through actually crafting a novel in the 90 days with coach support and everything along the way. Totally free to join in. So, if that's a goal that you have in mind, get in there. Already signed up. Perfect. And yeah, that extends to everyone else as well. If taking part in the challenge has just sparked a few ideas, whether it was the one you actually wrote or just a bunch that you noted down and kept aside because they weren't going to work with what you were thinking at the time, keep growing those ideas. Just because the challenge is over doesn't mean that your creative work is over. Keep going.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gareth. As always, this has been a pleasure having you co host. And congratulations again, one and all. If you are one of the 6 shortlisters, we will be in touch via email so that you can figure out how to get into your prizes. Thanks so much, everyone. Take
Beautiful.
care.
Thank you, everybody. I'll rub my hands maniacally and say until next time. But thanks for coming.
Bye, everyone.